Hot sand swirls through the air at this refugee camp. I'm in Zatari, in the Jordanian desert. Bashir, you will fall, these men sing from inside their tent. Bashir, you will fall. They fled to this camp just days ago from Daraa. Had they sung a song like this there, they could have been hanged or shot. Abu Ala says life in Syria has become hellish. He's a student in his early 20s. He fled from his hometown with his brother. Every day there were rocket attacks, he said. Every day we feared for our lives. It became almost a normal thing to see someone killed. People went out onto the street to get something, and sometimes they came back, sometimes not. You can die anywhere. It was like our lives became a death project. And it didn't matter if you were a Christian or a Muslim. They didn't care who you were. They're just destroying the country. Their lives have been upended. Just a year ago, these young men were studying or starting jobs. Then the conflict began. I guess at first we were scared, but Bashar's actions ended our fears. He lost the moment we were no longer afraid. It's natural when you see the things we did. But we're not scared anymore. But most of the men we talked to chose to obscure their identities. Some still have family on the other side of the border, and they fear reprisals. Yet here in Zatari, they're safe. Life in a United Nations refugee tent city isn't easy. It's hot, over 40 degrees Celsius. And sand chokes the air when small tornadoes break out. I've been here just an hour and I'm already exhausted. Water to cool yourself with isn't plentiful. Abu Wissam takes me to see his family. He was a sports journalist before he fled, but now he's in this camp with his mother, sisters and 3 brothers. His father and another brother stayed behind. The tanks, the bombs, his mother says, they just pummeled the city again and again. People, especially young people, were locked up. We saw people killed right in front of our eyes. We had to flee as the bombing intensified. Syrian rebels helped get her out of the country, but it was a risky move. People are being shot at along the border crossing that this mother used. We had to walk very quietly, she said. We didn't want the checkpoint soldiers to hear us. The Free Syrian Army accompanied us. They kept saying, "Keep the kids quiet, okay? Make sure they don't cry." And then we made it, thank God. The refugees' lives have been turned upside down. This mother washes what she can by hand. The camps lack running water or electricity. The only private spot for the family is this tent. And the number of people at the camps is growing day by day as more refugees flee into Jordan. Some estimates put the number of Syrians in the country at 150,000. Most people are staying with friends and family. Those without ties in the country wait out the civil war in these camps. UN officials register the arriving refugees in this tent. Some people stop in to ask UN officials for news about their country. The UN teams are working around the clock. They've got to be prepared for anything, says Andrew Harper from the UN Refugee Agency.
There is tens of thousands of people who would cross the border if they actually had the opportunity to. Last night we heard that there was groups numbering 1,000 or more who tried to cross, but they couldn't because of bombardment and because of snipers. And in the end, only 61 crossed. So what our teams have to be prepared for is that they might have twice the normal number coming across tonight. But again, it often depends on the smuggling routes, whether the area is being bombarded, a whole range of factors.
The UN is providing the refugees with the basics, but it's hard for Abu Allah and others to accept handouts. It's degrading, he says. We left our country, our home, and this is, I guess, all we have now. To be honest, it feels worse than degrading. Many refugees share this feeling. They feel as if they've lost control over their lives. What bothers them most, they say, is not knowing when or if they can ever return home. They're getting the basics from the UN: blankets, toothpaste, soap, food. But it's little solace after so many have lost so much. Most people fled with only the clothes on their backs. The camp resembles a building site. Workers are toiling overtime to make life in the camps more livable for the Syrian refugees. Germany's Technical Relief Agency, THW, is assisting with water projects and building toilets and showers. The corps leader, Stefan Mack, says getting water running is top priority. Over the next few days, he says, we're going to convert the temporary structures into more permanent dwellings. That means we're going to open solid buildings with water tanks. We're also opening new structures for personal hygiene. Each will have 5 toilets and 5 showers. They'll be private and windproof, so the refugees will have a sanitary and private space for cleaning. They won't have to worry about people coming in and looking at them while they're tending to personal matters. Tankers are bringing water into the Jordanian desert. This in a country where water is already in short supply. Germany is donating money to help kick-start water programs throughout the country. Hospitals are first in line to receive clean water supplies. Various medical NGOs are operating facilities in the camp. Injured people found outside the camps are also being taken in. I'm on my way to a small hospital along the border with Syria. It's unusual that they're allowing me to film here. The doctors are from Syria, and they're using under-the-radar means to help bring injured people from Syria into Jordan for treatment. They're also sending medicine across the border. It's dangerous work. We were harassed by the Syrian government for treating people injured in peaceful demonstrations, this doctor says. That's why we went to Jordan, to escape Syrian security forces. Now we can care for any injured people. Our credo is, we won't discriminate. We will treat anyone. Most patients here have gunshot wounds or were harmed by debris from rockets. The hospital's 2 operating rooms are in use 24 hours a day, says one young doctor. Dr. Walid goes to treat a young man who was brought to the hospital from the refugee camp. The teenager is visibly shaken. The long scars along his back speak for themselves. Fighters from the Shabibha militia captured him. Later, he took pills of one kind or another, he says slowly. The soldiers captured him at a checkpoint. He says he was held for a week and beaten. He says he fled to Jordan by himself and has no idea whether his family knows where he is. The hospital will keep him overnight. Then he'll be sent back to the camp for further treatment. The wounds on his body will heal soon, but doctors fear the psychological scars won't ever fade. This is an awful situation, Dr. Walid says. It's a tragedy. It's so painful for us as doctors to witness what's happening in our country. What gives us hope is our patients, how courageous and optimistic they are about the future. The refugees have experienced life-altering trauma, but at the Zatari camp, they try to distract themselves from the pain. There's a new playground, which the children call their school. Bitter irony after many have now missed an entire school year. Meanwhile, the adults are facing the reality of an uncertain future. I meet Abu Ala again. He tries to charge his mobile phone. There are 3 outlets on a nearby pole. It's really important that we have a way to communicate, he says. It's the only way for us to stay in touch with our families in Syria. We need to know whether they've been attacked and whether there are new deaths. We're learning everything through our phones. But the power is out again. We return to the tent where the young men while away their days. They sleep, they chat, they eat. There isn't much else to do. Abu Wissam brought his computer with him when he fled. He looks at the latest videos online from Syria. He downloads them by tethering the computer to the phone. We're not going to have to stay here too much longer, he says, God willing. We want to get back home soon. If Bashar Assad's regime were to end tomorrow, we'd be the first back. But until that happens, all these people can do is wait. No one can say how long their sojourn in the desert will continue. As we leave, we resolve to meet next time in Daraa, when these people are home again and Syria is again at peace with itself.